Not sure if it's because of how electric he has looked for Team USA in FIBA exhibition games, if it's his style of play that just captures the attention of basketball spectators, or if it's based on expectations going into his fourth year in the NBA, but many are elevating Anthony Edwards' stock in recent weeks, with some even suggesting he's on the cusp of becoming a top 10, maybe even a top 5 player in the league. Now, obviously, Edwards is already a great player. He was a number 1 overall draft pick a few years ago, so this is not a situation of a player having to prove he's at least in a tier 2 bracket, but I do think it's a healthy debate to have as far as whether he's truly on the verge of ascending up the ranks, or if he's kind of inevitably going to remain on that tier 2 level. I talked briefly about tier 1 and tier 2 in the video I did on LaMelo Ball recently, but in case you haven't watched that video, tier 1 to me are players that can legitimately lead a team to a championship. I would say it's the top 8 to 12 players each season, although I think you can cap it at top 10. Tier 2 is a wider range, maybe between 10 and 30 or 10 and 40. Let's remember, only one team in NBA history, and I repeat, one team in NBA history, has won the title without at least one definite top 10 player on the roster that very season, and that was the 2003-04 Detroit Pistons. Chauncey Billups, Richard Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, and Tayshaun Prince were all excellent players, but I think it's fair to say none of them were in the top 10 that year. They were great defensively, very cohesive, and well coached. Last year's top 8 players, in no particular order, were probably Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Kevin Durant. I would say Jimmy Butler and Devin Booker were 9 and 10. When healthy, Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard were in that conversation as well. In any case, Edwards had a very good season last year, a tier 2 level season with averages of 24.6 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. Not suggesting he doesn't do other things well, but the fact of the matter is, Edwards is marveled at because of his scoring aptitude. He does the most glamorous part of basketball at a really high level, which is why he gets so much praise and attention. For him to get into the tier 1 conversation though, he's going to have to be more efficient. Of the 57 players last season who averaged at least 20 points per game, Edwards was 42nd in effective field goal percentage. His was 52.8%. Those unfamiliar, the math on effective field goal percentage is simple. It's 3-pointers made times 0.5, and then you add that to the total field goals made, and then divide that number by total field goal attempts. In case you're curious, Nikola Jokic ranked number 1 on that list with a 66 EFG percentage. 383 of Edwards' shots, according to Second Spectrum, were in isolation, and his EFG percentage was 47.1% in these situations. Of the 34 players that took at least 200 isolation shots, that ranked 21st. This is interesting. Ranked number 1 on the list was Kyrie Irving at 57.4%, and ranked last, meaning 34th, was LeBron James at 39%. One thing I'm always curious about with elite scorers are where they take the most of their floor shots. What we know is that Edwards worked his way into the mid-range far more last season than in his first 2 years. About 33% of his field goal attempts were taken between 3 feet and inside the 3-point line in 2022-23, up 10% from the prior year. Also, of all his shots, 37.5% of them were from 3-point distance, about 11% lower than the prior year. Something he really excels at is finishing through contact. He had 64 N1s last year, tied for 6th most in the league. He also took the 6th most shots in transition. He made 55.9% of those attempts, which is a middle of the pack mark. What I wanted to do was pick out one of his top performances from last year that I felt had that tier 1 vibe to get an idea of what he's going to need to do consistently to reach that level. One of those games was against Chicago on December 18th when he posted 37 points, 11 assists, and 7 rebounds. No Bull defender, and they have a few really good ones, had an answer for him on this night. Edwards looked like a man among boys, and key was that he went full force attacking the basket. 8 of his 13 made shots came on drives to the hoop. You see him here a couple times going right into the body of Alex Caruso, who made the all-defensive first team. And then here he attacks left and shields off Patrick Williams following the show by Vucevic. Chicago not having much rim protection enabled Edwards to thrive when he powered and or weaved his way inside. And then he also showcased a smooth touch on his step-back jumper. And as a side note, Edwards took the 7th most step-back jumpers last season, making 38.5% of them, which again is a middle of the pack percentage. This exclamation point breakaway slam late in the 4th quarter really got the crowd excited, and these 2 assists really impressed me. The double team came, Chicago had their weak side low man defender drop down into the paint, which in the first clip was Zach LaVine, and Edwards whips out the pass to the open Austin Rivers for the 3. And then similar here with DeMar DeRozan collapsing in the paint, Edwards finds Jaden McDaniels for the triple. This is textbook offense and good recognition of where the open man was. The bottom line though is, as I documented earlier, Edwards is going to have to be more efficient all around for him to be a legitimate top 10 player in the league. As strong and explosive as he is, let's remember that right now most of the league's best players are much larger and longer players, most possessing elite playmaking abilities like Jokic, Tatum, and Giannis. The only thing that Edwards can outperform them in is scoring. I personally think he's going to have to shoot at least in the high 40s overall from the field and the high 30s, maybe 40 plus from 3-point distance to reach that marker. Just a quick glance at his shooting percentages from particular ranges, and I will show 2 makes and 2 misses from these respective ranges. From less than 8 feet out, he shot 57.8% last year. From 8 to 16 feet out, 39.6%. From 16 to 24 feet out, 35.3%. And from 24 feet out and beyond, 37%. As far as his defense, he's had some solid moments on this end. We'll see if he ever gets into an all-defensive team conversation. Just some interesting numbers from last season against notable opponents, according to Second Spectrum. Kawhi Leonard shot 2 of 9 from the field with Edwards as the closest defender. Spencer Dinwiddie was 1 of 9. And Brandon Ingram was 2 of 7. Just some added noteworthy offensive stats. Edwards scored 30 plus points 24 times last season, with his season high being 44 against Houston on January 21st. His career high is 49, which was set the prior year against San Antonio on April 7th, 2022. He had 2 other 40 plus point games that season, including when he scored 48 points against the eventual champion Golden State Warriors on November 10th, 2021. He made his first All-Star Game appearance last season and had 12 points on 6 of 8 shooting for Team LeBron. So that'll wrap up this video. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe.